Okay.
Alrighty. Well, welcome to Wholehearted Living with Valerie.
And Benny.
Here we are. I feel like it's been forever since we chatted.
I know. And by the way, we're the podcast where we are siblings. And our goal is to help you, the listener, live wholeheartedly. One of us comes here with a subject matter that the other person does not know. And we just talk about it.
We do. And that's exactly what we do. And
Very nice, Valerie. You really summed that up.
I'm going to welcome Iggy to the podcast as well.
Thank you. Iggy.
Hello.
Iggy, what do you got to say for yourself? I see something on your finger that we have not talked about.
Woohoo!
I am newly engaged.
Iggy, that's hard for our sound guy.
He is engaged.
He's engaged.
Yes.
So, woo, the crowd goes wild.
Right. Well, I feel like actually it's been a few weeks since we went to Big Bear, but it feels like not that long ago. And then yet so much has transpired since then.
Every single time. I don't know. You're older than me, and I don't mean this funny, but what I mean is it's just ridiculous how time flies.
It does.
Because it's like we start planning for it, and I like the excitement of planning for it. I mean, sometimes it gets stupid, but I like the excitement of it, and then it's over.
Yeah. Well, you send a text out reminding everybody of the date like months and months and months in advance. Like we're in summer enjoying the beach and you're like Big Bear in November. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Yeah. And then now we are 4 weeks past.
I have to admit, I do that so that nobody forgets. And then inevitably someone still forgets. So
Wait,
your daughter, including, has missed one session. That was not.
Was that
on her
fault? That was the babysitter's fault.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She misunderstood the date.
But the thing was that I do like to make sure that everybody knows, and then I like to kind of hype it up. So
yeah, and then it's fun to do that because I think part of the that's why I don't like surprises, because I like the anticipation of the event. And so
I think certain surprises are fun.
No.
Yes, they are.
No.
Boo! See, wasn't that fun?
No, because I remember I had a surprise party. I think Mom and Rob threw it for me. I'm not really even sure. It was back, I think I was 21. And I remember that I got to the event and thought, oh, wait, so we're not going to dinner? Oh, so you know what I mean? Like, it was like, okay, now I had to like retrain.
I thought we were going to go to Sizzler.
But if somebody, yeah, exactly.
Back in those days.
But if somebody had said, oh, we're going to have a party, then I could, look forward to the party.
Yeah.
So,
no, I get it. But
yeah.
I actually don't mind a surprise that's truly a surprise. Mm-hmm. The problem is that they never are.
I know.
I always end up finding a little bit. And so it's kind of like, why didn't you just tell me in the first place?
I know. I told you about, I guess it wasn't that particular surprise that I just told you about, but there was a surprise that I was with Rob. Rob is my ex-husband. I was young, probably 17 years old. And he kept driving around the block before we got to the house. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I just want to
warm up the tires.
Yeah, like something. I don't even know. And then
he was trying to let the house get full of people or whatever.
Right.
Oh, geez.
But this is the story. So I go, this is silly. Can we just go in? Okay, let's just go in. We walk in and Mom's standing there looking at me like, what are you doing? I'm like, hi. And she's staring at me. I'm, Mom, what's wrong? She goes, what are you guys doing here? And I'm like looking at her going, I lived there at the time. So I'm looking at her like, what are you talking about? Well, he brought me there before people got there.
He was supposed to get there like an hour later
yeah.
or whatever.
So that's why he was going to drive around the block for an hour. So
God forbid that he actually drives somewhere else. Go get gasoline.
Or maybe not. We
buy
were
a donut
at his house.
someplace.
Maybe not leave at his house.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
I know.
Okay, we totally skipped it. Iggy, are you going to be articulate enough to share the story of how you proposed to my daughter?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was writing earlier.
That's all right. Go for it.
Speaking of surprises.
Yeah.
Is there another surprise?
No, he's going to share the surprise of what happened.
Well, because originally the plan was I was going to do it in December because we have this yearly thing as like a holiday date.
Right.
That we go to this garden and they do like these lights and make it really pretty at night. And the first year that we went there, she had actually said, no, it'd be cool if this is where it happens. Mm-hmm. And the second year we went, which was last year,
screwed her.
She actually got bummed out because she was the whole night. She was like, "Is it gonna happen?" But then obviously it didn't happen.
Right.
So then I was like, well, she was already like that last year. If I wait until that date this year, she's probably going to be expecting
sure.
it.
Yeah, she's totally
She's
going to be
go
waiting
get her
for it.
nails done.
Seriously, she's going to be
Yeah. So
she's going to
then-
say, hey, by the way, I hired a photographer.
So then I was like, well, when would be a
Advantageous.
like when would be a date that would work out where it's not going to come off as like I'm planning something special,
Right.
Right.
so that everything just still feels natural.
Right.
And it just so happened we already had this planned out date at Big Bear that we were going to drive up there early and have a little date.
Which was not uncommon, by the way. Iggy and Trinity always went early to Big Bear. So it wouldn't have been
Yeah.
like a surprise to her, like you were saying, hey, we're going to go
Like,
early.
why are
She
we
wouldn't
going-
have. She
Yeah.
wouldn't have.
Yeah.
But then we had
expect-
already planned that date to go before everyone got there,
Mm-hmm.
like weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was like, well, it's already planned. Might as well just do it
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
And it just also happened to be like, 5 days after I had talked to Benny and Patty about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what was really cool is that, so for those of you that are faithful listeners, you know that we do this Big Bear trip every single year. So it was really fun that 5 hours later, she was able, sorry, I guess you were able to celebrate with the family that you guys were engaged.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun to be a part of it without being a part of it, if that makes
Well,
sense.
what I liked was, I know Iggy didn't finish the whole proposal part, but what I liked was we got to later in Big Bear watch the proposal on video because you told her, I'm going to set up my camera right here so we can take a picture over the nice background that you guys had. But he actually hit video so that he could
Yes.
actually propose. That was so cool.
That was really cool. Although I am going to talk to you a little bit about editing purposes because it was really funny because it was like, hey, I'm going to show you the proposal. And there was a good 2 minutes of just staring at the sky.
We were just talking. There's a cropped version of the video.
Oh, okay. Because it was so funny because I was like, wait, are you sure you got the right video? We're waiting. We got this smile on her face, didn't you? Or
Oh,
you?
yeah. No, I was like, what's happening?
Is it going to happen?
They're just chatting.
But you guys did, and
Yeah,
that was
that
really
was
fun.
very
And you
cool.
got on your knee. I like the knee thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess it
And-
doesn't have to happen, but it's nice.
She's gonna kill me for this, but she always said that she had like 3 requirements for the proposal.
Mm.
And oh no, I do remember all 3. I thought I only remembered 2, but I do remember all 3. One was that she wanted it to be like private, where it's like the 2 of us.
Yeah, not like 75
So then
people.
in my head, I was also kind of like, there's no way that would have happened if we did it at the garden date because there'd be hundreds of people around us all the time.
Well, but she probably also means private in terms of she doesn't want all the family there
Like,
staring.
don't do it in
Yeah.
front of
Like,
my
don't
family.
do what
Yeah.
you know how people like plan
Yeah.
those things
Yeah.
and all that.
There was that, and she wanted it to be documented somehow, like a video or a picture, which then worked out.
Okay. You're
Perfect.
2 for 2.
2 for 2.
And then
That the Chiefs would win that weekend.
and they did. But the third thing she wanted was like she has a thing for like the really pretty lights, which is why she liked the garden.
Yeah.
And I was like, we had sunlight.
Yeah. Oh, well, that thing was beautiful. I
Yeah.
mean, like, because you guys are right in front of
at
the
the
lake,
lake.
right in front
Yeah.
of the lake and everything. Oh, yeah, it was really cool.
Very pretty.
Yeah, it's not one that you'll forget. So
Yeah,
very
for sure.
fun. Congrats. I'm glad that you're gonna. Well, you've been a part of the family for a while, but
Yeah.
officially,
Yay.
And I like that you have an engagement ring.
yeah,
too.
he already has an engagement ring
Yeah,
on too.
it's very cool.
That is very cool. Well, there you go. That was Big Bear. No, I will say that one thing we did differently, folks, is that we honestly there's been a cabin we've gone to, and quite frankly, it's been pretty nostalgic, at least for the 6 of us. And Dustin even mentioned it, I think, because he went to the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you felt like that. Did you feel like that?
I did. I think when Stephanie year before last talked about maybe getting a new place, I was like, oh, but this is like where it all started. You know what I mean?
This is Big Bear.
Yeah.
It's like there's something about.
Yeah.
It's a very cool place. Honestly, it's one of those places that's a very cool place, but it's a little kind of like a dump.
Well, I think that's why I liked it, because I didn't feel so like, oh my gosh, because we would bring the dogs, and I mean, not that they messed up, but I didn't feel like, oh, we had to be.
No, you
know,
really didn't.
super-
You really didn't have to worry about anything. It's very lived in. How's
Yeah,
that? It's
there you
super
go.
lived
Yeah.
in and cozy.
Cozy.
Felt very
Because
homey.
very
Homey.
homey.
Yeah.
I loved it. You felt like, and then everything was pretty close.
Yeah.
So we were always close
Yeah.
with each other. It wasn't, there's
But
no.
I mean, if you're going to fast forward, we did have to get a new place this year. And I liked it for a couple different reasons, because the kitchen at the original place was so small. And then there was a
Not
dining.
just small. The issue isn't the smallness
Well, I
to me.
didn't finish my sentence.
Oh, well, that's because I was going to finish it. Go ahead.
No, but the kitchen was small. So yes, but there wasn't even a place like where the dining room where you can actually like still be a part of conversation in the
That's
kitchen.
the problem to me.
And this place had a big kitchen, so you could all be in the kitchen while people all be in the dining room, or there was even a little bar area that you could sit at the bar stools right there. So you were all there.
Yeah, when you
if
were
you
in the
wanted to be.
kitchen at the old place, you were in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's all you were doing.
Yeah.
So, and what, I like the fact that, so I started this thing a while ago. Obviously it's changing now, but what we started to do is say, hey, who would volunteer to take certain meals? And the thing it's great, but it was also awkward is if it was your meal, you're stuck in the kitchen for 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's like, and nobody's with you unless they help you.
Because it's so freaking tiny.
Well, not just tiny, but it's separate, like you said.
Well, yeah.
So,
but that's what I like about having I shouldn't say an open concept, but like just even a bigger kitchen where 2 or 3 people can stand in there with you and chat if you want. It was just awkward if people were standing in there.
I mean, I actually don't care if the kitchen's bigger. If the wall wasn't there so that you would be open to the rest of the house, then you would be able to communicate with people. You couldn't communicate with people.
No, but even if that wall was open, that kitchen was so tiny, you would have to look down a little telescope
that's
to see
true.
people.
Yeah, the thing is that even now, even with the new place, we still did the assigned thing, but people played games in the kitchen.
Like the kitchen table, but
kitchen
off
table.
to the side a
yeah,
little.
it's a kitchen table, and you're not necessarily in the game, but you could still hear them laughing and be a part of it, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Whereas, and very quickly go over to the game without having to like leave the kitchen. It's like it's part of the whatever it was. So, yeah, I mean, it was nice, and then obviously it just had way more rooms because the other place is small.
Well, yeah, there was that too. So that was cool.
Yeah.
And the living room was slightly bigger, although still very homey. I liked this place that it seemed to have.
I actually did like it, and I was so excited. I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to rent it now for the next year. And they said, oh, they're pulling it from Airbnb. And I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. So we are in the hunt.
It's so funny because we did get a raving review on how clean it was
I
and
know.
stuff. And I was laughing so hard because I'm over there cleaning the stove, and Stephanie and Peter were both like, why are you doing that? You don't need to do that. I'm like, well, and then Stephanie Heyer was like, no, seriously, they hire cleaning people. I go, well, I already started, so I'm not going to just leave it like this. And I went
When
through
I
and cleaned
cleaned stuff, I didn't clean the kitchen like you did, but I cleaned other things, and I wanted to make sure that we left it well and all that. And if I would have known what we had, I would have, dropped a can of oil. I'm just kidding. But
if they weren't going to rent it to us again.
Yeah, no, I'm
but
kidding,
I even went through all the bathrooms and bed, like took all the soiled towels from showers and everything, and I went and threw it all in the laundry room. And
yeah, they gave us this high review. You guys are amazing, basically. And then they said, and then I said, so we want it next year. Oh, it's not with us anymore. Well, is it not with you guys, or is it going to be with somebody else? Nope.
I know.
I was like, oh, geez.
That was a bummer.
So that was that.
But it was very fun. It was a very fun trip too, because Nicole
And it was your first. It was my niece's, Valerie's daughter's first trip.
Yeah. So that was super fun.
That was fun. So yeah. So we had a great time.
It was cold though. This is the first year no one went out to play. What is that thing Dustin brings?
Disc golf.
Disc golf, and the other thing that bounces. See, I don't know names of stuff. The bouncy ball game. No,
but their backyard wasn't conducive to that. Their backyard really wasn't conducive to it. I don't know that it was the cold, because one year we were out there freezing. One year there was snow.
Couple times
there was snow out there.
But the couple times I said something to Dustin, like, "Are you going to put it out there?" He goes, "It's too cold." So I don't know if he would have found a way.
This is a guy that ran 15 miles in 30 degrees, and he said it was too cold.
That's true.
So
I think it was windy.
Windy.
That's what.
No, there you
shorts,
go.
Yeah.
Windy.
That's what he
windy.
said.
Yeah, you can't do
you're
windy.
Right. That's what he said.
Because I was going to say it wasn't about the cold, but it wasn't. It was a beautiful backyard, but not conducive to games.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a little bit different. The other place that we had was more. It was flat, and it was a little bit different.
Wider. Yeah.
Yeah. So anywho. Well, there you go. So we've delayed enough time. Now tell us what our subject is so we can live wholeheartedly, for God's sake.
And
All
be
right.
healthy, my friend.
Yes, exactly.
Be healthy, my friend. Okay, so you know what's really funny is I forgot my notes because my dog got.
Oh, geez. Look at, she's actually using my dog ate my homework.
Yeah, she did. I'll tell you more about that later.
Who's allowed to say that anymore? My dog ate my homework, especially since it's all digital.
All right, so here's the thing. Do you self-care?
Yes. Okay, move on.
All right. What is your self-care like?
You know what's interesting this is really funny.
Oh.
Because no, I'm not joking. I'm in a cohort with about 6-7 other people, and the professor always starts off with, I'm not joking, what did you do this week for self-care? Literally, that's literally the question. So it's very funny that you're saying this. Well, what's funny is that I would always think about like events, you know what I mean? Or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Well, this last Wednesday, I didn't have any events. So I mean, nothing like that I did uniquely for self-care.
Right.
And then I said, and then I heard someone else say, oh, I went for a walk.
Right.
And I literally said, and I went, well, I walk every morning for now 40 minutes.
is
And then I walk in the
self-care.
evening for 20 minutes.
That's
And
self-care.
I said, so for me, I definitely think of it as self-care, but at the same time, it's not like a specific,
Yeah.
like I do that every single day
I mean,
and I work
self-care,
out.
I mean, I don't know what the definition is. I'm not, but I think anything that you do for yourself, is self-care. Like when I hear the word self-care or the phrase self-care, I immediately think of things like a facial or getting my nails done. You know what I mean?
That's what I
Stuff
was
like
saying.
that.
That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking of. Right.
Yeah. So, but anyway, why I was bringing this up is because, there are many things that you can do for self-care that won't overcompensate something else you're doing in your life.
Oh,
So
right.
if you're saying, well, I don't understand how I got sick. I do so many things. I walk, I meditate, I sleep well. I, take my supplements for my immune system. How did I get sick? Well, sometimes you just can't buy your way out of certain things if you're doing too many other things to have self-care. How did I word this when I was?
I don't know,
doing
but
this?
you're killing me because I think
Self-care
you're going
doesn't
to
mean
affect my next. You're going to affect the next podcast. This is amazing.
Oh, how funny!
Yeah.
Self-care doesn't mean you'll be able to keep it all together, or not get sick. Okay, so here's why this whole thing came to mind. As you know, or maybe you don't know if you're listening out there, I work with an autistic child. And that's what I've been doing for years now, since like 17 years-ish. I've been working with special needs children in school. It can be an emotionally exhausting and sometimes very physically exhausting week. Fridays, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I get Saturday and Sunday, regroup, and then go back and do my job. And I really do like my job. I'm not doing it like, oh God.
No.
But so our church, one of the girls, she actually works at our school this year. She's an occupational therapist, and she goes to our church. I ran into her and went, oh my God, I didn't know you came here. And so I guess she's been going there for years. Obviously, I've only been going for months, but she reached out to me this week and asked if I would be interested in, they're going to hopefully put together a new group for Sunday school and have special needs children in the group. And
All right, everybody, pause for just 1 second. My in-laws are in town.
Oh, pause.
And we're going to pause because I know.
Go for it.
All right. So welcome back. Sorry, we cut out my in-laws.
Welcome back. You mean,
Welcome back. What did I say?
yeah, welcome back.
Oh, I guess
They've
to
been
them,
there.
I guess to them, they haven't realized it, but we are, my in-laws jumped in. So Valerie, go ahead and finish your thought. You were talking about.
So what I was saying was, a girl asked me, because she knows I work with special needs children, if I wanted to be a part of this new thing that they're going to put together at the church. It's Sunday school for special needs children,
Oh, wow.
which sounds amazing. But my
Yeah.
first thought was, do I want to do that on my quote unquote day off?
Right.
I have wanted to help in the church at some point in some way, But I mean, I wanted to kind of do it in a different area, not necessarily. But then she's like, but that's your strength. That's your gift. That's your, you know what I mean? So part of me,
I do.
Yeah. So part of me is like in my head going, okay, well, I really
It's a little bit like asking a mailman to go for a walk, though, sometimes. So that's the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I told her I would have years ago said, sure, I'll do it, because that's just, probably what I should do, or, want to be nice. I want to be people pleasing. But this Valerie says, you know what? I'm going to have to think on that.
Good for you.
Yes, I'm very proud of myself. And I'm going to really think about it. And it might come back with a no, might come back with a yes. But all this to say, when I was thinking about self-care, I was thinking sometimes we could do a lot of things thinking that we're doing good things, but you're not going to do all the good things to your best of abilities because you just have a lot of things. You're doing a lot of things.
Right.
It might be better to just not bite off more than you can chew and do a few things good. So part of self-care, in my opinion, is making sure that you're making decisions that aren't going to stress your life out, that aren't
Right.
going to add more chaos where you're trying to, just live a wholehearted life. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing that's interesting about self-care, because in therapy and in life coaching, it's like self-care is such an important part of living wholeheartedly, because a lot of times we think, a matter of fact, I mean, I can't get into details other than just say, I've had people at times say, I really need to take care of so-and-so.
Mm-hmm.
I need to take care of this person. I need to take care of this person. And I always say, you can't give what you don't have.
Exactly.
And so there are people that think, well, but it's rewarding to give.
Right.
And they're right. It is rewarding to give. But if you're empty,
Right.
then it's like you're actually depleting yourself. And the only way that you could truly give to somebody else, including your kids' moms, including your spouse, the only way you can do that is if you're taking care of yourself.
Absolutely.
If you're not taking care of yourself. And so like you just said about self-care, for me, walking is a big deal. I make phone calls that have to do with self-care on that. I listen to things that are really helpful for me. Honestly, sometimes it's just meditation, prayer, walk, whatever it is on my walks. I don't even consider my walks working out.
No,
they're
same.
self-care.
Exactly.
They're just time to be with me.
Totally.
And because I work out on
Right.
top of that.
Right.
Usually.
Me too.
So
Well, and I think that's a huge thing. You said something about moms, and I think a lot of times I remember a lot of moms telling me, I feel so guilty that I left the kids to go to the gym, or I feel so guilty I left the kids to go have coffee with a friend. And it's like, you know what? Like you kind of nailed it when you said, if you're not fueling yourself, then you cannot fuel your family.
No.
There's no way you can, if you're on empty, there's no way you can help.
Well, and I use a
give.
very practical example with clients. I say, if you have no water, you can't give someone else it.
Mm-hmm.
And it works exactly the same way emotionally. If you're not emotionally healthy, if you're not full, if you're not completely where you are feeling satisfied, which what's interesting, you mentioned one of them is sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because I did have a client talk to me about sleeping and saying something like, oh my gosh, I just slept for hours and hours and hours. And I said, well, it sounds like you needed to sleep. Whereas they were feeling guilty. Like, I can't believe I'm going to tell you that I've been sleeping so much. And I was like, it sounds like you needed to sleep.
Exactly.
It sounds like that was something.
Well, and I've always been the person, just speaking on the sleeping, I've always been the person that I could never, ever nap. I've told myself in certain circumstances, oh, I should take a nap today because of whatever. And I can't. But there are times that I have sat down just to like sit for a second.
And you're gone.
And I fall asleep.
Yeah.
And then I wake up going, oh my gosh. And then I feel kind of guilty. Like, did I ruin the day? Did I, and I'm like,
right.
I must have needed to sleep.
Okay, wait, I have to tell you something. My father-in-law has no problem with that whatsoever, because he'll be listening to anything, and even in the middle of a conversation.
Well, he was just walking by
and he's
sleeping.
asleep. He doesn't have any problem with naps.
Well, I mean, as I get older, I'll laugh, and we'll be watching a TV at night and Peter will be tapping me. I'm like, what? He goes, should we turn this off? And I'm like, no, I'm fine.
I'm fine. I haven't seen the last 20 minutes. There was a
Exactly.
time when Patty and I were watching a show, and we are pretty good about saying we're done. We have to go to bed. But there was a time that we watched a show, and then we went to bed, and then the next day I said, Patty, I have not seen this one. And she goes, yes, we have. And I literally fell asleep through the whole show.
So
And it was
funny.
like I was totally gone.
Done that.
But yeah, I definitely sleep is a big thing, but I think the bigger thing that you're getting at is if you're not taking care of yourself, whether or not you think you're helping somebody else, you're simply not. It's
And this goes
impossible.
in every single part of your life, like whether it's like, I heard this term when I started thinking about self-care. I read this, I should say. You cannot self-care your way out of a fundamental misalignment in a core area of your life. And so when I saw that, I was like, that just makes so much sense, because so many times I think you think about the holidays that are actually coming up right now, and so many people get sick around this time of year. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people think, oh, it's because it's flu season. I think it's because people stress their bodies out. They take on too much. They don't sleep well. And so I think that during this time of year is very important to have that self-care. Go for that walk, even if it means that you have to stop wrapping presents or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Right.
Take a little bit of time for yourself.
Yeah, and listen to last week's podcast, which was actually last year's podcast, but it was a good
Yes.
podcast
Yeah.
on holidays. But well, no, I really appreciate this because it's interesting to talk to clients about the fact that self-care, just by the word self, right? It sounds selfish. And the truth of the matter is that if you're not doing it, you're actually hurting, especially for those folks that are thinking, but I have to do this for the other people. The truth of the matter is that if you're not taking care of yourself, you're really not helping other people.
It's a disservice.
It's
It
a
really
disservice
is.
because you're not
Yeah.
fully present or you're not fully
Exactly.
yourself. And then also they might feel guilty because they can see that you're experiencing whatever it is.
Exactly. And that's why I was saying, like, a lot of times there's like people like, okay, well, maybe I will just do this Sunday school class because they really need me. But if it's going to be to the detriment of me working with those students because I'm not really doing it wholeheartedly because I'm frustrated, I have to do it on a Sunday and give up my weekend, so to speak.
Right.
I know this sounds really selfish, but I'm just saying, like, I do this Monday through Friday. Do I want to do this on Sunday as well? And
No, I
that's
think
where I
it's a
really have
huge
to think
thing.
about it,
it is a huge thing. It's always ironic for me when I worked with children I was never the children's pastor, but there was a season when I was overseeing it. And the favorite Sunday school teachers are teachers because they know how to work with kids.
Yeah,
It's like you don't
yeah.
have to teach them anything.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, they can teach me because
Right.
I don't know how to work with kids.
Right.
And so there's something about that, right? But the thing is that they're like, man, I've been doing this all week. And so I had somebody one time who actually set a boundary and said, I don't want to teach. I teach all week.
Right.
But we had a policy in our church that said if your kids are in it, then you have to do something in
Right.
it because otherwise
That
it
makes
just
sense.
can't exist.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so it was like, you have to do something.
Yeah.
And so I created a job for her, which was, can you and your husband, can you guys prepare the curriculum for the teachers so they don't have to do all the cutting and all that stuff? It's just done. And long story short, she ended up doing it, loved it, was really good at it. But I love the fact that she was willing to say, I want to serve, I want to be helpful, but I'm not going to work with kids.
Right,
Because I do that every day.
Yeah.
And church, and for me, that's not what I want to do. So once a month, I think, I don't know when they did it because I don't remember. It's been a long time, but they created it where I ended up sending team members to them because we had a very large church. And they would spend 4 hours on once a month or however often preparing all the curriculum for all the classes, and it was all done.
Yeah.
So, but the point is, she set a boundary. She was still helpful. She was still serving, but he was like, I'm not going to do something that's totally against what I can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also feel like for me, with this particular situation, am I going to go back into Monday where it is my job and the one that I really do like doing? I love the student I work with. feeling like, oh my God, I'm not rested because I just did.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, maybe I could do something where it's like, okay, I'll do it once a month or whatever. But that's just something I'll think about.
Yeah.
I'm not
going to get too into this because stay tuned next week. Okay.
Well, I wanted to just say one thing. With all that said, we really need to listen to our bodies. We really, really honestly, because I think our bodies tap us. I think they send a little bit of a message like, okay, you're overwhelming yourself. You're getting too, far into this. Take time for yourself. Do a little bit of self-care, because at the end of the day, it'll end up pushing you down versus just the little tap. Like
Right.
you definitely ultimately will feel the
You're going to
pain.
pay for it.
You're going to pay for it.
Yeah. And other people around you are going to pay for it.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Okay, bye. See you in heaven. Well, folks, we are Wholehearted Living at wholehearted_living_podcast. That was the best I've ever done
Wow,
that.
look at you.
And,
You still
on
had to look at
Instagram,
it, though.
I did have to look at it. So we would love for you guys to follow us, like us, send us to, how do you do that? Send us to other people. What do they do, Iggy? Share. Okay. I made it really
Subscribe,
complicated. Iggy's
share
like,
it.
yeah. But anyway, so Iggy, thank you for keeping us in sound.
Thank you, Iggy.
Thank you.
Nice.
My very technical term.
Yes.
So there you go.
I love it. It's my favorite.
Yes, I know.
All right, you guys. We'll see you later. Bye.
Ciao.